What's going on, guys? We are back with an awesome, awesome new set of decks. I have no idea if they're awesome. I'm just excited that they're putting out deck packs again. So there's two new ones. We've got Bounce and Boon and Unfinished Business. Um, so the Bounce and Boon is mono white, like we need another mono white deck, and Unfinished Business is a uh, blue black reanimator style deck from what I've been told. Now I actually haven't looked at either one of these decks yet, but my buddy Cerberus on Steam was nice enough to buy me the deck pack and the unlock codes. I definitely did not have the time to sit down and unlock all the decks, so we're gonna do what I did with the demon deck and the samurai deck, because I'm gonna do a deck analysis for this one, and then we're gonna play it online and see how it does, and then go back and edit things that I feel like didn't perform as good as they should have, or things that I think we needed to add that weren't in there. So, let's start off with Bounce and Boon. We'll take a quick look at Unfinished Business just so you guys get an idea of what's in here, but I'm not going to really get into the deck, just kind of a general idea of what's in here. It's definitely a Reanimator style deck. And, I mean, here are our big drops. These are the things that we're going to be bringing back from the graveyard. Good stuff, good stuff. Big, scary things. And then we probably got even bigger, scarier things in here. If we look at the cost, you know, we're looking at 5+ is probably what we want to reanimate. Not bad stuff. No, not bad at all. I don't know how many of these cards are outstanding. A few of these I don't recognize. Silent Blade Oni. Deals combat damage to player. Look at that player's hand. You can cast a non-land card. That's not that bad. Interesting things though. So, we'll come back to this deck. For now, we're gonna look at the Bounce and Boon and figure out what we need to do here. So, keeping with fashion, we're gonna throw everything in here. We may have to cut a couple lands to fit everything. Which, like I said, I usually like to play 24 lands anyway. So, we'll go down to 24. Bring the rest of these guys in here. Alright. Alright. So, we're going to start off with some Soul Wardens. Soul Wardens aren't bad. Are we trying to gain life with this deck? I don't know. I don't know if we're trying to gain life with this deck. So far, the Lone Missionary seem like we want to do things like that. Pacifisms. Card creature gets +2/+4. Battlefield, return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. So what it seems like we want to do is it seems like it's a Momentary Blink style deck. Now, if you don't know what Momentary Blink is, it's a phasing effect. And it was popular in cards that had come into play abilities like this, where it enters the battlefield and you search your library for something. Or like the Restoration Angel Thragtusk type style. So it seems like we want to have a couple things to bounce, and we want to have a lot of things that have good come into play effects. You know, just looking over the deck, that's probably our ultimate goal. It's just things like even this guy enters the battlefield, you put 3 Kithkin, and you bounce him. He comes back in the field and you put 3 more Kithkins out. It's not bad. And this one lets you blink creatures like crazy as well. And Sun Titan's not a bad creature to blink. Duplicate. I like the art on that. That is sick. I don't know where that's from, but that is awesome. It's not bad. Let's get into the deck and decide what we want to do. Now, ultimately, it's not a life gain deck, so I'm going to cut down to 2 Soul Wardens so that we still have something a little early on, but not amazing. Amazing creature here. You know, not for our style. We gain maybe an extra life when we bounce something. I might even take all 4 of them out because they're not outstanding. Core Skyfisher enters the battlefield. Return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. You get, I mean, worst case scenario, you set yourself back a land. And that's not bad. You get a 2/3 flyer for 2 mana. And, I mean, you can basically just do whatever you want for the rest of the game because, of course, Skyfisher is amazing. It was very popular back in the day with Zendikar, where you could bounce lands and use landfall. But in this, you can use it to bounce your creatures and get bonus effects off them late game. So I definitely like the core Skyfisher in here. Enters the battlefield, return a creature you control to its owner's hand. Flash 2/2 for 2 mana. Now, the return of creature is a little bit less ideal when we look at it, because this guy lets us return a permanent, and we can return a land. This guy, if we drop him on turn 2, has to return himself to our hands. So that's not good for us. That doesn't help us at all. So I think I'm going to take these guys out. Lone Missionary enters the battlefield, gain 4 life. He's 2/1 for 2 mana. Not outstanding, but the 2/1 kind of makes up for it, and the gaining 4 life keeps you alive against aggressive decks. I don't know what I think on 2 of him. We're going to leave 2 in there for now and see what the rest of the deck holds, but we might come back to him. Kinsbale Skirmisher enters the battlefield. Target creature has +1/+1 till end of turn. Not really amazing. It's interesting. It's a nice little combat trick. But it's not the best card we can blink. Flash, enchanted creature, gets whenever a creature enters the battlefield, enchanted creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Mantle of Leadership. How many things are we going to be bringing into a... if we can keep our costs down this way, it might be good. But for now, I'm going to say no. Like I said, it just depends on how this curve down here looks. And with us getting down to 9 2-drops, and I'm probably cutting these, us only having 7 2-drops, I probably am not going to keep that in there, because it doesn't give you the opportunity to get, like... it's not true. I was going to say, we do have a couple things in here that put out a ton of tokens. Like... Where is he? Where's my buddy at? This guy. Or... I'm surprised that it's not in here. The, Mere Battlesphere. Thought that was not Captain of the Watch. The other one's like Captain of the Watch from the other deck. The Vigilance Guides, Power and Toughness equal number of creatures you control. But anyway, back over here. We'll get rid of these. Show Valor. They're not really that great. Chain creatures +2/+4 until end of turn. I mean, it's an interesting combat trick, but for the most part, not necessary. Blade Slicer's really solid. You can't argue with the Blade Slicer. Enters the battlefield, you put a 3/3, and you have him, and it's a 3/3 first striker as long as you control the Blade Slicer. If you bounce the Blade Slicer, you get another 3/3, and they both have first strike. You can do really stupid things really well. Emancipation Angel, 3 mana, 3/3, enters the battlefield. Return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. It's not bad. You don't want to go turn 2, Core Skyfisher, turn 4, Emancipation Angel. Like, that's not going to help you. But the whole 3/3 for 3 mana isn't bad. And, you have the opportunity to bounce something that you don't really need on the field. So I like that. Flicker Wisp enters the battlefield. Exile another target permanent. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Now, you can use it to bounce your stuff or use it to bounce your opponent's stuff. It gives you the option to... get that extra damage in if they have a creature that's untapped, or give you the option to hit one of your effects again and not have to replay it. So I definitely feel like this is more valuable than this. So I'm going to cut one of these, and we're going to run 5 3-drop flashes. So I like that. Hookmaster enters battlefield, tap target creature, and opponent controls that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. 2/2 for 3 mana, not really that great. It's nice to be able to get in for that damage, but, that's what these Flicker Wisps are for. They do basically the same thing, except they get to untap the next turn. Ardent Knight, 2/2 first strike for 3 mana. Enters the battlefield as you put out a 1/1 soldier creature token on the battlefield. Not amazing. I think we'll get rid of these guys. We got our... right now, we still have 12 3-drops. That's not bad. We still have a lot of cards to go through. We also have a lot of really high-end cards to get rid of. So we might have to come back to some of these and put some more cards in here. But for now, whenever another white creature enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature and opponent controls, 3/3, or 2/2 for 3 mana. No thanks. Enters the battlefield, gain 2 life, 3 mana, no thank you. The owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into his or her library, then draws 2 cards. Instant means that you can use it in response to a removal spell, or you can use it in response to a block and gain 2 cards, or you can use it as removal, but it's not really like great removal against your opponent, but it can be. I mean, if they drop something that's big and scary and you have no way to deal with it, it's worst case scenario, it's like rapid hybridization in standard right now. The rapid hybridization is that removal spell that you don't want to use, but it's there if you need it. And if your opponent doesn't come off strong, you have the option to just be like, well, I've got a 3/3 now. What are you going to do about it? Or if someone tries to remove something, you'd be like, well, you're wasting a card. I'm going to lose a card anyway. Why don't I just get a 3/3 out of this? And you still have to worry about that 3/3. So, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think we can keep that in there. The Solemn Offering, destroy an artifact or enchantment, gain 4 life. I mean, they're super situational. There's going to be enchantments that you need to destroy, and I mean, there's going to be artifacts you need to destroy. But there really aren't that many reliable, solid artifacts or enchantments that I would consider running that into main board. Ever. I mean, even in Theros block right now with Biden of Thassa, and I can't believe, like, things like that I just would not run a like, I would not run enchantment removal main board, even though Biden is so good. Biden is so good. Let me just stress that. But without the, you know, I wouldn't run it, even in a standard format. So with the limited number of artifacts and enchantments in this, it's probably not necessary. Solemn Simurculum is amazing. It's 4 mana for a 2/2, but he gets you a land and then draws you a card. So if they waste a removal spell to kill him, you draw a card, and you had your land, and they trade a card for him. So he is a 3-for-1, right? You draw a card. No, it's a 2-for-1. You get a land and a card, and a spell out of their hand for your creature. So it is a 3-for-1. It's a 3-for-1, and that's awesome. Even if he trades with the creature, it's the same circumstance. And it's mana excel. You know, you can't complain about mana excel, especially when you start blinking and you're like, well, I get another land. I get another land, and my deck thins. And I get another land, and my deck thins more. So that's real good. The Restoration Angel's a little misplaced in here. It's still good. It's still a 3/4 for 4 mana with flash. And you may exile target non-angel creature. Keep in mind that it says non-angel, because you can't bounce this angel here. And I don't know if there's another angel. I think there's other angels later on. So just keep in mind that the Restoration Angel cannot bounce those. So don't get into the situation where you're like, well, I really need to bounce this thing. Flash Flying Fear. Enters the battlefield, return 3 creatures you control to their owner's hand. That is a lot. That is a lot. It's terrifying, don't get me wrong. You end your turn Dust Elemental or return 3 creatures to my hand, but like, what 3 creatures are you gonna have out right now? A Lone Missionary, Blade Splicer and his token, maybe. I mean, that's your best case scenario. So I'm gonna say no on that guy. He's just a little too crazy there. Little too. I'm gonna try and do everything. Healer of the Pride. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 2 life. Not really worth the mana cost for it. You know, if we were playing a life gain deck where, you know, we're going to actually drop something like an, what is it, the little guy that if you have 30 or more life is like Syrah's something, I don't know. Syrah Ascendant, I think is what it was. It's like a 5/5 for 1 mana. You know, if we were running things like that, then I might be justifying the running of things like this and the extra Soul Wardens. But for now, I can't. As long as Valor is in your graveyard and you control planes, creatures you control have first strike. It's never a bad thing. Valor is not a bad creature in and of himself. He's not great. But the fact is, as soon as he dies, all your creatures have first strike. It is awesome. Stonehorn Dignitary enters the battlefield. Target opponent skips his or her next combat step. Now, it's worth keeping in 2 of these guys because it is an absolute bitch to deal with when you start blinking him. Especially if we can get to the point where we can infinite blink. I don't know if there's anything that lets us infinite blink, but I doubt there's anything that lets us infinite blink. I'm just gonna say that now. But I mean, we can do a lot of things to blink it, so that's definitely a good thing for us in this deck. Is it just skips your opponent's combat step, and he's a wall. I mean, he's got a big butt, and he can be pumped. I mean, we've got that one card in there right now that whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you put counters, or you get +2/+2 or something. I mean, you can get real big real fast and just trample over things. But anyway, Light from Within. Enchantment. Each creature you control gets +1/+1 for each white mana symbol in its mana cost. We should go back and look at our white mana cost, because this isn't bad. We got 1 here. We got 1 here. We got 1 here. We've got 2 here. We've got 2 here. So that makes these guys 5/5 flyers for 3 mana. Ew. This guy's a 2/2 now. And then this guy's a 3/2. This guy's a 3/4. And this guy's a 2/2. And then I don't know if we're going to play the Archon. Probably not. This guy gets +2. This guy gets +2. That's awesome. I don't play the Sunblast Angel, but we'll definitely play the Captain. I don't know. It's not bad. I think we can justify running that. I mean, in the very worst case scenario, it gives our creatures +1/+1. I mean, it costs 1 more than Glorious Anthem, but it affects other creatures better. So I think I can justify running 2 of those. Proper Burial. Whenever a creature controlled dies, gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Again, we're not a life gain deck, so I'm going to say no on that. Archon's got the same feel. Again, we're not a life gain deck, so I'm going to say no on that. The Cloud Goat Ranger, we are a blink deck, so putting out 3 1/1s for blinking him doesn't sound bad to me. Welkin Guide. Enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+2 and gains flying until end of turn. It's a lot of mana for him, though, so I'm going to say no. Cathar's Crusade. Whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I mean, we're not dropping a ton of creatures, but these 2 together, real solid stuff. We also have a lot of 6 cost. I think we can justify this. Duplicant. Enters the battlefield. You may exile target non-token creature. As long as the exiled card is a creature card, Duplicant has power and toughness equal to that creature's, and has that card's power, toughness, and creature type. It's still a shapeshifter. So you enters the battlefield. So it's when he enters the battlefield. So he doesn't enter the battlefield as a creature like Clone says. He actually enters the battlefield, exiles something, and then becomes that creature. But he doesn't have to exile something. He can be a 2/4. But I mean, ultimately you want to exile your opponent's thing. He is a 6-cost removal spell that gives you that creature. Sun Titan's solid. Definitely worth using. Sunblast Angel, not so much. 4/5 for 6 mana. And you have to play it correctly. I mean, if you are holding a card in your hand and you absolutely need to cast Sunblast Angel to win the game, your opponent is probably not going to tap out. They're probably going to realize that there's the possibility that you have a Sunblast Angel. And, I mean, it's a very situational card, and you have to do it as soon as they attack, or right after they attack you with their force. And if they hold creatures back, you're going to kill half of their things, and then they're still going to have a board. It's just one of those cards that I'm not a huge fan of. Captain of the Watch is solid. Other soldier creature tokens get +1/+1, or other soldier creatures get +1/+1, and you put out 3 white, 1/1 white soldier creatures. What else is a soldier? These are Kithkin soldiers. They get bigger. This guy's a soldier. He gets bigger. I think the Core Skyfisher is a soldier. Core Skyfisher is also a soldier, so that's not bad. I think we can justify that. I mean, we can justify it anyway because it puts out 3 1/1s. But we can definitely justify it because it pumps everything else up pretty well. Enters the battlefield, put a 4/4 white angel creature token flying on the battlefield. You're paying 6 mana for a 1/1 and a 4/4. 6 mana for a Sierra Angel. Not even a Sierra Angel. Let's put that out there, that it is not a Sierra Angel. It is worse than a Sierra Angel, and you're paying 2 more mana for it. I have to say no. No thank you. When he enters the battlefield, gain 2 life for each other creature you control. Now that could get big, but again, we're paying 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer that has this nice little benefit that we gain a little bit of life. Say no. Say no. Enters the battlefield. Put 4 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature tokens on the battlefield. Whenever Mirror Battlesphere attacks, you may tap X untapped mirrors you control. If you do, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn and deals X damage to defending player. It's interesting. It's a late game card, and right now we got 4 more cards to remove, and we got well over 4 cards here. So I'm definitely going to keep the Mirror Battlesphere in here. First strike. When he enters the battlefield, gain 1 life for each card in your graveyard. Again, we are not a life gain deck. Like, I don't know what the goal of all this life gain is except to just delay your death. So it feels very weird to me. Enters the battlefield with a divinity counter on it if you cast it from your hand. It's indestructible as long as it has a divinity counter. And you remove the divinity counter and you destroy all other creatures. When are you actually going to cast this? Like, look at our curve. Our curve is 2, 3, and 4. You know, that's our home right here. When are you going to get the 8 mana to cast Myosian of the Cleansing Fire? It might be decent as a one-of in the deck, but I'm going to go back into our lower cost cards and say, you know, some of these things need to go back into the deck. I'm going to say, let's look here. 2/2s for 2 mana. They're not really like tricky though, so I'm not a huge fan of that. I think our Ardent Knights are probably our best bet because they at least put out a 1/1 soldier. So I'm going to say these guys. Actually, I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to do the one of Court Denizen because it is a soldier. It will get the counter, and it has, like, whenever we go late game and just put out 5 creatures in a turn, we can tap them out and swing for lethal. So I think I'm okay with that option. That doesn't look too bad. Let's get the Myosians out of this deck, save it up, and let's get online. I think that's what we need to do here. So let's look at some multiplayer custom matches. For anyone that's wondering, the shop is going very well. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. We've been having good turnouts on our Friday Night Magics and stuff. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Let's see if this guy's actually here. Nope, he opened it up to someone else. No, thank you. We're not going to play a 3-way event. And I'm probably not going to get into this one. Nope, I did. It's ready up. Siniska. Nope, I was kicked from the game. Multiplayer. Custom match. Free-for-all. Nix 18. See if we can get into his game. See what happens here. Trying to think what else is new with us. We might start selling some cards online. That'd be cool. Be fun. Make sure that I start putting links to all of our things to sell online in the description. But I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone, and I'm getting very fed up with it very quickly. That's kind of my... I've got a little bit of time here. I can play a couple games of Hearthstone, and I'm getting tired of the overpowered legendaries in that.